All right, so today we're going to be taking a look at the Casio W-215h. This is a watch that I picked up on the Japanese Amazon. It is available on US Amazon as well, and some other retailers you can find it, but it's a little bit more rare. It's one that you might not have seen very much of, so I thought it'd be a cool one to take a look. Let's check it out. All right, so a few months ago, about 2 months ago, I took a look at the Casio F-91W, the infamous Casio F-91W, and that kind of got me interested more in looking at Casio, and after taking a look at it, I really found a lot to like about it, but I didn't think it was the perfect Casio for me. I thought that there must be another one out there that is a better fit. The size was a little bit small. There were some features on it that I didn't particularly like, and so it got me kind of really researching and looking at other ones, and that's when I came across this one as a potential contender. And so I want to kind of take a look at it in that light and see if this is, is this the Casio that's going to be the best fit for me in this price range. For me in Japan, I was able to pick it up for about $15. I think in America, US Amazon, you can find different color versions anywhere from around $25 up to like $60. Let's start by taking a look at the dimensions and specifications on this watch. So you're getting 39 millimeters across, 44 millimeters top to bottom, which I think is a really great size. It's not too big, it's not too small, kind of a medium-sized digital watch here. The band is kind of interesting. It's like this integrated strap. It's 11 millimeters thick, and then one of the main selling points, as you can see proudly blazoned across the watch, 5-bar water resistance, so 50 meters of water resistance there, step up from your standard Casios, which is a great feature to have. Now, 50 meters of water resistance, I mean, to me, this is, this is a great level of water resistance to have on a budget watch like this. Technically, with 50 meters of water resistance, I would generally say that's safe for some light swimming. I probably would avoid serious water sports or any kind of diving, but swimming around in a pool, generally if something's rated at 50 meters of water resistance, you're pretty safe there. It's kind of on the sketchy side, but for a cheap watch like this, and with Casio, tends to have a reputation for being pretty water resistant. I think I would feel pretty comfortable wearing this watch in the water, because it's probably going to be fine, and if it's not fine, it was still a pretty cheap watch, so you're not risking too much. So having that extra bit of water resistance, I think, is a really great feature here. Similar to many of the other Casios in this price range, you're getting pretty standard features. It comes with obviously a time display that can be displayed in either 12 or 24-hour format. You're getting an hourly chime, which I actually really like. Kind of reminds you of the passing of time in case you get distracted easily like I do. You're getting an alarm, which is really useful as well, and then a stopwatch. And then this one has, you can see, illuminator blazoned across it. So it has a electroluminescent backlight, which is another huge improvement over the F-91W. So good feature set as well. Nothing, unusual for a Casio watch in this price range, but all the necessities are there. So now what I want to do is kind of compare this to the F-91W a little bit. And the first thing I think you can notice is that the size is a much larger size than the F-91W. This is still way smaller, I think, than most G-Shocks that are out there, so it's not a large watch by any means. But I mean, on my wrist, I have a 7.5-inch wrist. On my wrist, I feel like the F-91W kind of wears like a kid's watch. It's really small, and that's part of the appeal to it. So that's one of the other differences. So the F-91W, it's so small and light, I literally would not even remember if I had a watch on. That's how unobtrusive it was. This one is a little bit larger. The band is not quite as unnoticeable. I can feel that I have a watch on, and but it's still very comfortable. But it's definitely a much more substantially sized watch, and I think it looks much better because of that on my wrist, on a larger wrist. So I definitely appreciate the larger size. In addition to that, the screen is a little bit larger as well. The numbers are bigger, and I feel like the contrast is better on this W-215h than on the F-91W. So it's a little bit easier, I think, to read. but the actual functions are essentially identical. You're getting the same 3-button functions. One of the biggest differences between this one and the F-91W, and probably one of the things that I hated the most about the F-91W, was the light. And so the light on this one is great. It's a really good electroluminescent backlight. It's a different color, so the F-91W is this kind of green LED that lights up part of the left side of the screen, and you can barely read it in the dark. This one, you get a bright orange light, and it is brighter on the left side of the screen, but the entire screen is lit up from the bottom of it. So the whole screen lights up orange. It's really easy to read in almost any lighting condition. And as you can see, there's just no comparison to the backlight between the F-91W and the W-215h. The W-215h's backlight, I think it is even comparable to Timex's Indiglo. And if you put the two of them head together, I think the Indiglo is a little bit more even lighting. It's maybe a little bit cooler color. I like the blue on the Indiglo. But as far as ease of readability and brightness, they're pretty comparable. And so that's, I think, a great compliment to Casio to be able to put that good of a light in a watch in this price range. Again, for me, I was able to get it on Japanese Amazon for about $15, which I think is an amazing price. Get it for a little bit more in the US. And that really addresses, I think, most of the complaints I had about the F-91W. Having a bigger size, having a better backlight, and then, yeah, I think the style is something that I also appreciate. The F-91W, it's got that kind of cool retro charm that so many people love, but I didn't particularly think it was the best looking watch. I felt like this W-215h does look nicer. So talking more specifically about the W-215h and looking at that kind of on its own, some of the things that I really appreciate about it. Well, one, I do like the style. It's got that same kind of 80s or 90s retro charm, I think, that the F-91W does, but it looks cooler to me. I mean, this is like, I don't know, maybe it's like more of like a 90s look or something, and I grew up more in the 90s when I was a kid, but this to me, it feels like the kind of thing that I would think was a cool looking watch when I was a kid. And so I kind of like the way it looks. It's got this kind of glossy finish on it, which is different than the F-91W's matte finish. You can definitely see the light reflecting off it more. The strap is really interesting. Again, it's kind of this integrated strap that I think is similar to what you would find in design-wise on like some of the G-Shock models. And so on the G-Shock, they do this strap with this integrated strap that's part of the protection. It's meant to be shaped in such a way that the case back cannot ever touch the ground. So if you dropped it, it's not going to land on the case back. And I guess the case back is one of the most vulnerable parts of the watch, and so that kind of is meant as a protection measure. I don't know how much shock resistance this has in it, or if this band makes this watch a little bit more shock resistance, but style-wise, that's what you're getting. So it's got this kind of preformed strap that comes down, and yeah, it's integrated into the case, so it's one seamless piece of plastic. And, although actually, now that I mention it, no, you know what? It looks like you could change the strap out on this. I thought it was integrated, but now that I'm looking at it closely, it looks like you could actually pull that out and maybe put a different strap on there. But there is definitely a molding where the strap connects, so it looks like it's one seamless piece. You're getting just a simple plastic buckle on there, one keeper. But overall, again, it's a kind of a really cool look, and it comes in a variety of colors, some really interesting ones as well. So I'll put some links below. You can see some of the other color options out there, but yeah, some interesting stuff that they have going on. Like the F-91W, it's just a great daily watch. The features on it are things that I use every day. Having an alarm is something that, if I have a watch with an alarm on, I'm going to use it. I'll use it to remind me of something. Stopwatch is something that I use almost, every time I've got a watch on. There's always something to time, whether I'm out playing with the kids or just, cooking or whatever. Yeah, having a stopwatch on a watch is one of the best features that I think you can have. So I think again this is why these Casios are so appealing. Is they're inexpensive, they're well built, and they've got all of the functions that you could really use on a regular basis. The only negatives that I could think about this watch are very minor. First is the strap wears a little bit awkwardly. It's a very long strap, so even on my 7.5-inch wrist, there's a lot of kind of tail on the strap, and it kind of sticks out. So I don't know if you like that look or not, but the edge of the strap, you can kind of see it on the side of your wrist. it's sort of always popping out. Now you can move the keeper up further to kind of minimize that a little bit, but usually if you're just putting it on, there's going to be that little kind of tail sticking out. I guess you could cut it if you wanted to get it straighter or shorter, but it has a lot of holes on it, so you can get it pretty small. So it'll fit, I think, a wide variety of wrists, almost no matter what your wrist size is. I'm sure you could get the watch to fit, so that's, you know, kind of a positive, but it does wear a little bit awkwardly. I think my wrist is a little bit wider than the strap naturally wants to go, so it kind of tends to wear in sort of like a little bit of an oval shape, like an egg shape around the band, which doesn't get a really tight fit unless I cinch it really tight. I imagine it'll break in better as time goes on, and it'll get a little bit better fit with that. And then the only other negative, the second thing, is that, again, this is a little bit hard to come by in the US, so if you're not living in Japan, you might have a hard time finding a decent price on this watch. Now, all that said, I think if you can get your hands on this one, and if you're willing to, to spend a little bit more than an F-91W, I think this is a really fun one to pick up. Again, it's kind of a unique one. It's not one that you see every day. It's not one that's on a lot of people's radars. I don't know if it's more popular in Japan, and that's why the Japanese Amazon has more of them. It could be a JDM model, and that's why you're not finding them as much in the US. But it's a cool little Casio watch, and I definitely feel like this one is a better one for me than the F-91W, and it's kind of a step in between the G-Shock and the F-91W. I think eventually where I want to go is I want to check out like a DW-5600 series G-Shock is what I'm really interested in, and see if I like that better than this one, or if, you know, really this kind of smaller, slimmer, cheaper Casio watch is more, has all the features and things that I need. So, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and we'll see you guys next time. And thanks again for watching, subscribing. We just recently hit 3,000 subscribers, so really excited about that. Appreciate all of your guys' comments and subscriptions. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Love to have you follow along as continue to look at all kinds of different watches and see what's out there. Again, usually focusing more in the budget price range. But thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys next time, and talk to you later.